founders of Bharat. So today we have Komal Ramani Makhija with us, a fantastic business owner. Komal is a brand strategist, founder and principal designer of projects. She specializes in creating logo, brand identity, and packaging design. So, hi Komal, it's my absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm extremely excited to host you and learn from your experience during our conversation.
Thank you so much, Urvi, for having me, and super excited to kick off this episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, Komal, I think we have met a couple of times at LEAP events, right? And I remember you mentioning about how important it is for companies to have a visual strategy, right? So, can you elaborate more on that? Like, what exactly is visual strategy?
So, when an audience looks at an ad, a product, or any visual for that matter, they only have 3 to 4 seconds to actually absorb the content. If your brand is able to make an impact in the 3 to 4 seconds, you've hit the nail. If you can't, then the audience has so many options these days. We are exposed to so much visual that it's in an instant second they'll forget about you and your brand, right? So because visual is the first thing that anybody notices, it's key to get that right. And by visuals, we mean consistency in the colors that you use, consistency in the brand language that you use, consistency in the fonts that you use. So, by far and large, your brand should have a similar look and feel when somebody recognizes, them on the screen. It should be so recognizable that even without your logo being present, the person should be able to say that this is this brand. So that is what a visual strategy is. And again, the importance is because we have so much exposure these days, to make an impact on your consumer's mind is becoming very difficult on every single day. So the more visually appealing strategy you have, the more visual impact you have on your consumers' minds, the easier it is for your brand to have a brand recall value.
Right, right. I totally agree. So even today, I got a message from Zomato. Okay, that yeah, Urvi, can we have a last coffee for this year? So it's so attractive, to have these kind of messages. Yeah. So this plays a very important role because we have only 3 to 5 seconds. We are not going to get like if there is any ad which is for 2 3 minutes, no one is going to watch because now we are of instant thing. Like we need swipe right kind of generation we are in. Right, so it definitely plays a like very important role. So, how do you help businesses with this kind of strategies?
So we are primarily focused on creating brand strategy for both business and personal brands. I'll take you through different aspects of both. When you talk about a business brand, we help you with your brand name. We help you with positioning your brand in the market. By positioning, we mean, so what positioning means is, what is your image that the consumer has in their mind. That is how you position yourself in the consumer's mind. That's called brand positioning. So we help you with your brand positioning in terms of the price points, the kind of target audience you have, the kind of visuals they like. So we take into account all of that and we position it correctly. Then we go ahead and we help you design your logo. uh, in today's time and age, in a digital first world, we design a responsive logo. A responsive logo means the same logo is actually given in different variants, wherein it is very easily be put up in a social media profile or a vertical banner or a horizontal banner, so that your brand continues, because you have so many different mediums to play with. After the logo design, we give you a color palette, of course, because you're going to create more creatives. You need more colors, more consistency that complements your logo. We give you a color palette, we give you a typography, and there is a whole gambit of things which includes patterns, packaging design, merchandise, stationery, as in what your brand requires. So that's a very customized approach. This is for the business brand. When you talk about a personal brand is very different than a business brand. A personal brand already has a name. For me, my personal brand is Komal Ramani Makhija.
Yeah.
So, in that manner, we first understand what your goal is. Why do you want to be a personal brand, and why do you want to start showcasing your personal brand online? What's your goal? Depending on your goal, which platform is actually well suited to you? Because personal branding is 90% online, 10% offline. So, which platform is more suited to you? And there is a huge difference between an influencer and an entrepreneur or any personal brand, because an influencer is actually focused on brand deals, and an entrepreneur or a personal brand is actually focusing on using social media to enhance their career, not really focusing on brand deals. So the approach has to be very, very different. So we come up with the content strategy for you. We explain what time you should be posting on, what should be the look and feel of your social media profile, and it varies on all profiles, like all social media channels.
Okay, okay, great, great. So it's a like how long like for any project like what is the duration? It might be taking two
Yeah,
months.
so for a business brand strategy, the minimum time is 20 days if it's just
Okay,
simple logo design, and the maximum time is 2 months. So that's the gambit that we play in. For a personal brand, we actually, so personal brand is something that needs to be done continuously. It's not like कि आपने एक बार कर लिया तो it's going to go on.
yeah.
You reappear in in the same social media platform again and again. So in that, it depends on where the client is. We do one-on-one sessions, and we do retainers, clients. So if you have a one-on-one session, it basically starts with 2.5 hour session, because we actually want to explain everything to you, and you need to understand the basics of it. And if it goes on retainer, then it really depends on what kind of input are you expecting us to give. There are clients who are very heavy on social media, so they want a call every single week, and there are clients who are not so heavy on social media, they want a call every single month. Really depends on your team strength and what your goal is there.
Great, great, great. So how has been your journey so far? I think you started in 2018, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
very.
So how has been your journey so far?
I think like any business, it's been a roller coaster. You think that I was a graphic designer. I was the creative head of a magazine before this.
Oh,
So when you're actually in a job, it's very, very different, because you just tackle one part of it. And yes, that one part, because you're the creative head, you're handling the team, you're coordinating with the production unit, you're coordinating with the marketing team, all of that is there. But on your head, you're only responsible for one thing, which is the creatives. So it's a very different ball game. And then once you start your own firm, it's a very different ball game, because you're responsible for everything. Whatever goes wrong, you are the face of the company, so you need to make sure that you are answerable, and it's your name that's on the line. So initially, a lot of struggle, trying to understand what works, what does not work. In fact, when I launched, I also started a stationery brand along with my brand identity designing.
okay.
I had actually, my initial plans were to go huge on the stationery brand, and less on the designing part. I had thought I'll take very curated projects of the designing part, but it so happened that it got swapped, and the stationery brand had to pull out, because there was a lot more involved than I had imagined. And at that point in time,
Hmm.
I personally was not ready to take on that challenge. And I realized converting into a boutique agency is something that goes well with what I wanted to do. But that is something I only realized once I entered the field, and once I decided to take the plunge. So yeah, big realizations. Again, when we started, we used to take on every single project, small, big, presentation design, t-shirt design, you name it, and we used to take it, because of course,
Yeah,
starting off, we wanted to be there.
right.
So many years in the industry, of course, we have niched down, and now we are very, very clear. We have a very clear approach that we only do brand identity and packaging, because that is what we specialize in. And in fact, even in that, in the past year itself, in 2023, we have now super specialized, wherein 90% of our clients are either from beauty or food industry. So
Oh,
as my experience is growing on its own, the specialization routes are opening up, because these are the kind of projects we're working on, and we're seeing faster results in these kind of projects. So again, up and down journey, but a lot
yeah.
of learnings, and a very fun filled journey, I would say. It's very satisfying.
Great, great. Nice to hear this story. So even I think my story is similar. I also was into a job and then I started this thing. And I agree with you that we plan something in our mind that we want to do this, but later when we actually enter into that, the things are different.
Yeah.
We realize that no, this is not what we want to do. We want to do this XYZ thing. So I can totally relate to what you are saying. So you were into a job, a secured kind of thing. So what made you start this?
I've been asked this question a lot of times, actually,
Yeah.
because there's whoever is in a job and who is trying to take the plunge, they always want to know, like, what's the right time, and should we
Correct. Yeah.
for me, it was I come from a business family, so I know I have the
Okay.
business acumen. So when I'm in a job, you are, like I said, you're only responsible for a certain thing. That there is a pro and a con to it. The pro is you're only responsible for certain thing. Calm, your work is done.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
but coming from a business family and knowing that I have the business acumen, I was not feeling completely satisfied because I knew I could bring so much more to the table. Like where I can sit for client discussions, I can bring in more business to the existing firm. I can take in more challenges within my role, and where I was working at that point in time, I didn't see that happening very quickly. I thought even if I reach to that level, it's going to take me like 10, 15 years of slogging. And then probably I might have a slight chance of, cracking that because it's a corporate ladder. You have to keep climbing
Yeah,
and it's going to be a slow process. And maybe
correct.
I have to take up 10,000 courses to actually reach that kind of level because they have certain criteria for that. Of course, the
Hmm.
company size is that big. So I was not very satisfied with what I was doing. The creative part was getting taken care of, but all the other things that I knew I could do, I was unable to actually, put that on table. So that is when I decided that let me try for a year or year and a half. If it goes well, great. If it does not go well, a year and a half is not that big a break from a career journey. If it does not go
Hmm.
well, I always have the option of going back to a job. So I was in that time span where I could take that risk, and I think the risk paid off. I'm very very happy that I took the decision.
Yeah, yeah, great. So it's always like we always have a plan B, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if this goes wrong, we have a
Me that if
yeah.
it does not take off or if I'm unhappy or for whatever
Hmm.
reason, if I have to go back, 1.5 year was the time span I'd given myself. But
Hmm.
yeah, here we are. So yeah, it definitely worked out.
Great, great, great. So, how easy was it for you to register your company? Like from registering a company to doing like outsourcing your compliance thing. How easy was it for you?
Very difficult because I didn't know anything on it. Like I said, I was
Hmm.
only looking at the creative aspect and I had absolutely no idea what is to be done. So every single vendor had to be found. Of course, all vendors came via references, so the trust was there. But even to understand what it means, the legal terms, the accountability part, it's not something that comes naturally to a creative individual. So that is something that took a lot of time to register, and I used to get very irritated initially to do all of this task, even though it was outsourced. Of course, it was my company, so I had to gather the documents, sit with the
Hmm.
person, get everything sorted. Uh,
Correct.
I feel it's taking up so much of my space that I don't want to give. But in retrospect, I feel that was important because if you don't know all of that about your business, it's very difficult to actually grow and scale later on. So it's a very important part of your journey as a business person. So yeah, it was tough. It was definitely tough. Not something that we were taught anywhere in any school.
Correct.
No idea on how things are. Good, I have somebody that I can rely on. I can call and I'm like, okay, I'm stuck here. What do I do? You have already established a business. Now help. So I mean, I'm glad that I had that kind of backup. But I really feel that there should be a course, a handheld booklet for dummies. Like if you're starting your first business or if you're going to do something like this is the book of dummies, you should actually follow every single step on this book, and it might make everyone's life a little much easier.
Yeah, I agree because we are never taught in school that these things are important. I feel that even coding is something that needs to be taught in schools. Right?
Yes.
Maybe in today's generation they are teaching, I'm not very sure. But in
Yeah.
our generation, it was yeah, in our generation it was not taught. So it's very important. We should know like what is IT filing, what is accounting, everything. These are very important things that needs to be known, but which is not taught.
It's not, and even like with new rules like coming in when I was registering my company, I was torn between whether I should register for GST or not because it was the initial phase of GST and everybody was registering. And because I was
Mm-hmm.
selling my stationery brand, and if I wanted to sell it on Amazon, I had to have a
So
GST number to
technically,
actually sell it on
correct.
Amazon.
Yeah,
Complicates a lot of things. Uh,
correct.
yeah, and for a small business who's just starting out to actually have that extra thing on your head is too much. But I didn't have anybody to actually tell me that there's an alternative, or like right now there are options. A lot of people don't take the GST registration number because I think the laws have also changed from when
Yes,
it initially it was difficult, and I mean you need to have somebody who can actually guide you through all of this, especially like in textbook courses. It needs to be taught.
correct, correct. So now, since it has been 5 years, how do you track your finances? Like, do you have any kind of reports which you make, or how do you track?
So I use a very simple system. I use an Excel. I
Okay.
don't use reports. I feel that's much more easier for me as a person to track. Excel also I started using much later. I'm not very account savvy, so I asked my accountant to actually make that entire category list for me, and he explained what is to be tracked, what is not to be tracked. So at the end of each month, we like I put everything into my Excel. So because of the way it's formatted, I kind of know everything that's going on in my business. And every 3 months, I sit with him and I actually review, what has happened, what's not happened, and what needs to be done in future to make sure things are going well.
Right, right. It's very important. So I've seen people like who have no clue, they don't track anything. They are like, we are earning so much, but we are not getting anything in hand because they are not tracking what exactly they are.
I was in that phase for a very long time. I think post
Okay.
COVID, I think in 2021 is when I actually started tracking stuff. Till 2020, it
Hmm.
was all Rambarusi for me. So I had no idea what was happening. I
Right.
absolutely didn't know what is to be tracked, what is not to be tracked. I was more interested in signing important clients and getting the kind of work that I wanted to get, and getting the work done and giving the deliverable, because that was the phase where I wanted to build my name. And
Right.
in that phase, I didn't realize that tracking would be important or it would come in handy for anything. But after 2020, I think I realized in 2021, say now I've like it's just been 2.5 years that I've been doing it. But yeah, I feel more in control because I have everything at my fingertips. I can just open up an Excel and I know everything about the business. So it really helps.
Correct. It was a learning which you learned after maybe 2 years that yeah, it's important to track. Right. So, Komal, tell us something like how did you acquire your first client? Like, how difficult was it for you to acquire your first client?
So for designing, there are a lot of websites that are that keep posting requirements. There are a lot of websites, international and Indian. They keep posting requirements of graphic designers for various stuff, for logo designing, for presentation designing, for whatever. So my first six clients, I would say, was from the website, that same website that I was enrolled on. The
Okay.
format is you keep, like, there are job postings. There are different paid plans. In a free plan, I think you can respond to 10 queries in a day. In a paid plan, there are 100 queries or 500 queries depending on the plan you take. So I was on one such website. There were multiple, but I got it from one such website. I got my first six clients from that website, and they started with a very small amount, like 2,000, 2,500, and it was like I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? But, ठीक है, it was a start. I was like, fine, let's just see. I've given myself a year and a half. But those clients actually converted probably 100x to me in a span of 3 years. So
Okay.
then I realized later that this is a platform where actually good clients also just find that initial connect that they're trying to look for. And what happened for me was when I took those initial clients, they were in a very naive stage. They were just starting off. But in the next 3 to 4 years, the companies grew. The companies grew huge. Especially most of my clients, like out of six, four of my clients grew huge in the pandemic. They tripled their work, they grew as a company, they employed more, they took out more products. So touch wood for me. I mean, it was really, really, I feel it was pure luck that I got to, interact with those clients in my initial, those website dealings. And those clients were with me for good 4.5 years. So, which is like, it really helped me because I got the steady business from at a very initial stage because their business was growing. So it
Yeah.
kind of helped me in that way. And then yeah, once you start rolling, it's easy. Once you get your first two, three clients, and it's easier for you. You also are a little like you're in a better place to and a better confident place to actually go out and pitch your work to different people. So that is when
Correct.
it started.
Yeah. So I think keeping patience is important. Like right now, maybe since you're starting up, the revenue will be lower, but once the client grows, the building relations with client is important.
It's super important, and I think that is what really helped me grow because 90% of my work actually came in from referrals after that. While those clients were still on, those six clients were still on, most of the new clients that I got were from referrals of these clients. uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, the initial few months were tough. Like I said, itna, like I used to get such small work, and I was like, what, I mean, this is not even the kind of where I was a junior level intern in any of the companies, so why am I doing this right now? The first three,
Hmm.
4 months, there was a lot of self doubt and thinking, should I do it? Should I not do it? Did I make a decision? Should I just go back? A lot of questions. But yeah, I think After 6 months, I was okay.
Hmm. Yeah, nice, nice. So, Komal, okay, so you have done your schooling and everything from Bombay only,
No,
or
I'm a Gujarat based person. I was born and brought up in
oh,
Gujarat. I moved to
okay,
Bombay because I got married here.
okay. So you
Yes,
were in Gujarat
yes,
earlier.
my education is from Gujarat. Yeah,
So when you started this, you were started from Bombay or from Gujarat?
no, from Gujarat.
Oh, great, great. So did you find any difference between the the
Yeah,
clientele?
so the company that I started was from Bombay. So in Gujarat, I was actually I owned another company. So when I started in Gujarat, there was not much scope of a job at that point in time. There were more business oriented people in the city that I was staying. So
Okay,
finding a job and taking that up was not something that was really viable. Everybody used to
yeah,
do their own thing, and since I was born and brought up there, I had enough connects to actually get good business from day one.
right,
So
right.
that was much more easier for me. And then when I moved to Bombay, I decided that I want to actually take up a job because the market here was everybody was into
Jobs.
yeah, a job.
Yeah.
And of course, the way things work in Gujarat and in Bombay are very, very different. So I wanted to have that experience also. I was not very confident that even though I've run my own thing in Gujarat, will I be able to run my own thing in Bombay from day one? If you would have asked me at that point in time, it would have been a clear cut no. I was like, let's go with the
Hmm.
safer route. Let's
Hmm.
try how the market works, what kind of design sensibilities work. There's so many things that change. So I wanted to take that experience, and that is how I even started working in Bombay. But after a few years, like I said, I was keen on going back to doing my own thing.
Yeah. So once you have entered into a business, I think
It's difficult.
after some point of time, yeah, you go back to that thing. That's for sure. And you come from a family business background, right?
Yeah.
So definitely you will
Yes.
definitely go
I
to
think
that
that's
people.
a major role.
So how do you manage? Like you are a working woman, right? So what do you think? What like how much family plays a role? Like if you are a business entrepreneur, what role does family play in this?
Um, I feel any business instead. So if you say that a business is comprised of 100%, I think 50% is you doing your work and 50% is your family supporting you when you're doing your work. So it's an
Mm.
equal portion because if my family does not support me, there is no way I can step out, do the work, sometimes be stressed at home because something's not working out, or discuss those things at home if there is no support system. Uh, we live in India, and how much ever we say that we are in a progressive society, there are certain expectations that come from being a girl, being a daughter-in-law, being a daughter, being a sister. There are certain things that they only expect the girls to do. So and not in terms of the household work, even the emotional support that you give to your family is something that's expected more out of a girl than out of a man. So
No,
there
correct.
are a lot of things, times where you want to be available, but because you're a working person you cannot be available because you have to balance that out. So if you don't have an understanding family that respects your boundaries, that respects that you want to work, and respects that when you are at work you will not be available at home for even that 1 hour, I think that's very, very crucial for your mental peace. Otherwise it becomes very difficult for you as an individual to perform at both places.
Right. The
So
family definitely plays an important.
yeah, and if you're married, I think the family support from both ends, your own family
Yeah.
and your in-laws family is
Hmm.
crucial. It's not just one family there.
So when they are born, they come up with a lot of responsibilities. Like घर को संभालने वाली लड़की ही रहेगी,
Yeah.
emotionally वही लेके जाएगी.
हाँ,
Everything is expected from her.
you can keep a lot of help for all the other stuff, but still I feel the emotional dependency even today in Indian household is on the girl of the family, whether you're the daughter or the daughter.
Yeah, correct, correct. Just a second, Komal. Yeah. So, okay, can you tell me your biggest learnings this year? Like, what have been your learning?
Try new things. I was so focused on doing a singular thing so many years. In fact, the personal branding strategy service that we have founded, it's actually come out of this year, and it actually came out of nowhere. It was not in the plan.
Okay.
I didn't even know what personal branding was until last year. Last year, I was trying to understand what social media platforms can do for me. because I was already into offline networking. I was already getting referrals. So what is the third way? I didn't want to start ads. I was very sure of that. So I wanted to understand what's the third way of actually making an impact, and that is the time where I heard personal branding for the first time, and I started learning about it. Just deep dived into it completely, and when I personally started being active on LinkedIn is my first platform. So when I personally started being active on LinkedIn, that is the time I realized the importance of personal brand and what it can do to you as a person, and what it can do for your business in terms of
Okay.
credibility, even if you don't consider the leads. Like that is a later stage. Just for the credibility impact, also it works wonders. And coming from a branding background, it was but obvious I was applying the branding basics to my personal branding, and it worked. It worked like a charm. And out of all that, what I tried for myself, actually, a new article came out, which was a personal branding strategy, because there were people who were not from personal, like not from a branding background, and they approached and they're like, we can see that you're doing something different, and we want to know what are you doing, because we are just doing so much. And that is when I realized the branding basics can also be applied to the personal branding field. And a completely new thing came out of it. So yeah, be open to experimentation. Don't get too stuck in what you're doing. Probably more opportunities can come out of it.
Right, right. I totally agree that if you have a rigid attitude that you're not going to explore certain things, you will not grow. For growing, it's important to explore new things, learn new things.
Even if it didn't work out, when I first started my workshop, the first workshop I had announced, I was not sure if anybody would even sign up. I was like, I'm
Mm.
trying it out, but it like
Yeah,
after that workshop, I have done six more workshops throughout the year, and I've started taking personal branding clients. So it's an entire journey, but it would have never happened if I didn't announce the first workshop ever.
right, right. I totally agree with that. So great. Let's move to our second session, which is rapid fire round. I'll quickly ask you certain questions. You have to say whatever relates you the most.
Yeah,
Yeah. So okay. So Komal is a coffee person or a tea person?
coffee person,
Okay. So meditation or exercise?
both.
Both. But what relates more,
I
meditation
can't
or
live without exercise. Like, I need it at the end of the day. Meditation is new to me. I want to get into the practice, but it's a little difficult for now. Like, I'm trying to get into the practice.
okay, okay. So working on Sundays or chilling on Sundays?
Not working on Saturdays and Sundays. It's a rule. I don't
Okay.
do
Okay. So you don't work on Saturdays and Sundays.
Saturdays.
Uh,
Not.
I think that's how you can maintain your work-life balance. Otherwise, you will end up working each day,
Yeah,
slogging each day.
it's too much. Like, I need that one day. Like, Sunday is my absolutely no phone day. Saturday still, if there is an event or something, I end up going. But Sunday is completely off.
Okay. Introvert or extrovert?
I think I would leave that to you to answer.
For me, I think you're an extrovert, not an introvert.
I don't.
Uh,
I mean, I've heard the term extroverted introvert. I don't know what that means, but probably I'm somewhere in between.
so person who inspires you the most.
Oh, I would say Michelle Obama.
Okay. So, favorite motivational quote which you remember or you've read somewhere, which is there in your mind.
I don't know if it's a motivational quote, but I've seen this several times. I've seen this visual several times, wherein it shows that if you it's about consistency, and I'm huge on consistency. So it always shows a drawing in different manners, wherein you start at one point and you're consistent, and you have already climbed the ladder from 0 to 100. And there's another visual where you keep thinking that I'll do. One fine day you take a big leap, but then you're not consistent, and so the bar that you've climbed is actually just 50 or 60%.
Yeah.
So that is something. It's not a motivational quote. It's a motivational image, I would say, for me. Every time I'm not in a mood to do something towards my work or any routine that I'm trying to form, I always have that visual in my mind that, okay, even if I show up a little bit, I'll be
Hmm.
more ahead towards the end of the year, rather than saying that, okay, आज mood नहीं है, कल ज़्यादा कर लूँगी. So
Yeah.
that is something that keeps pushing me every single day.
Right. So there's a quote also into similar thing that consistency is key to success. I think which can relate to this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, one habit that has positively impacted your life.
Um, Journaling, I would say.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. I journal every day in the morning.
okay. One piece of advice you find yourself giving most often. I
Don't
think you already mentioned about the consistency thing.
Yeah, consistency, yes. But yeah,
Yeah.
don't think too much. I used to think a lot in the initial days of my starting out a business and about a lot of things. And now I think I've become a little more. I push myself of becoming a little more relaxed and just take the plunge.
If you could leave a note for future generation, like any person who's trying to be a business owner, what would you say?
Put in your 100% and let go of the outcome that it will bring to you.
Great. Great, Komal. Nice to hear from you. Nice to know about you. It's my pleasure to have you here. Very happy and I think the discussion was very natural and it went very smoothly.
Thank
Great.
you so much for
Yeah.
inviting me. It was a fun chat.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. Okay, thank you, Komal.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Bye.
Urvi. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.